Listen, I don't care if you're at work, in the gym, or halfway through a family dinner right now. You better put that fork down and pay attention because Harlem has officially turned into the set of a Tyler Perry movie nobody asked for. What? If I told you the biggest betrayal in Dipset history didn't come from a diss track, a business deal gone wrong, or a botched reunion tour? What if I told you it came from inside the house, and by house I mean Jim Jones's own living room? That's right, folks. The streets are on fire because rumors ain't rumors anymore, they're receipts, and the receipts are printed on DNA paper. Camron, yes, pink fur Harlem world. Hey ma, Camron is allegedly the father of CHRISSY LAMPKIN's secret child. And before you roll your eyes and say clickbait, let me stop you right there. We're talking deleted Instagram posts, shady burner accounts, leaked lab results, and a trail of messy demons that would make even the most seasoned reality star clutch their pearls. So buckle up, because what I'm about to lay out is bigger than love and hip-hop, bigger than Dipset, and definitely bigger than Jim's loyalty. This ain't gossip. This is Harlem history falling apart in real time. Jim Jones and CHRISSY LAMPKIN were supposed to be Harlem's ride or die couple, the pair who had been through every storm together, from his arrest to his career dips to the countless times she demanded a ring he refused to give. Yet the truth that is now leaked threatens to burn down everything they built, because this is not just a messy rumor. It is the kind of betrayal that turns a dynasty into ashes, and it all circles back to one man, Camron, the same pink fur wearing Harlem legend who once built Dipset alongside Jim and is now allegedly the father of CHRISSY's secret child. Let that sink in for a second, because the betrayal is not light, it is nuclear, and the story of how it unfolded is the kind of scandal no VH1 producer could ever script. Not because they would not want to, but because no one would believe it until the DNA receipts appeared. The cracks in this empire started years ago when Dipset was no longer the untouchable Harlem machine it had once been. The brotherhood fraying in quiet interviews, awkward disses, and moments where Cam and Jim looked like they were tolerating each other more than they were celebrating each other. But everyone brushed it off as brothers fighting, Harlem politics, egos clashing. Nobody saw this coming because nobody thought Cam would go this far, and nobody thought CHRISSY, the woman who literally proposed to Jim on national television after waiting more than a decade, would ever cross that invisible line. But insiders say the Miami trip was where everything changed. Allegedly, it began in 2022 as a harmless reconnection. DMs between CHRISSY and Cam, where they reminisced about old times, Harlem summers, inside jokes from the early days. But slowly the tone shifted. The frustration CHRISSY carried with Jim not committing, with Jim avoiding conversations about their future, spilled into late-night FaceTimes with Cam, who slid right into that emotional gap Jim left wide open. And from there, one thing led to another. By late 2023, when Jim was filming his solo spin-off series, CHRISSY and Cam allegedly booked a private weekend in Miami, hiding under hoodies and masks, checking into luxury hotels, behaving like undercover fugitives, but leaving just enough breadcrumbs that a Love and Hip Hop crew member caught wind. That crew member later said CHRISSY came back from Miami like a different woman. She was suddenly protective of her phone, distant with Jim, skipping wine on camera, though she was never the one to turn down a glass, and most importantly, she started dodging one-on-one interviews with production, which was unheard of for her because CHRISSY had built her reputation on explosive confessionals. Yet when Mona Scott herself allegedly asked her to sit down, CHRISSY stormed out crying, saying she was not in the right headspace. If that does not scream something major, what does? Within months, fans online began whispering about her glow, saying she looked refreshed, fuller, maybe even pregnant, though CHRISSY played it off with throwbacks and selfies as if nothing was unusual. But fans have eagle eyes, and they noticed her sudden shift to looser clothes and tired expressions. Meanwhile, Jim was still oblivious, posting in the studio, posting about loyalty, even recording lines about betrayal while the betrayal was allegedly already inside his house. Then the hammer dropped with the DNA test. Officially, CHRISSY claimed she'd gone for a medical checkup, just routine. But insiders said it was not that at all. It was a paternity test. And when the results came back, Cam allegedly walked out of the clinic smiling like he had just gone platinum while CHRISSY left in tears. The clinic sighting was picked up by a burner account that snapped a blurry picture of Cam and CHRISSY in hoodies at a Jersey facility, and though it was taken down for privacy, the screenshots spread across Twitter and Reddit like wildfire. Harlem gossip had turned into Harlem evidence. And then came the real explosion because Mama Jones, Jim's mother, the woman known for her sharp tongue and zero filter, got tipped off by a former VH1 intern who casually mentioned how crazy it was that Cam had been sneaking around with Chrissy like nobody would notice. Mama Jones nearly dropped her drink and that same night showed up at Jim's door banging and screaming, telling him Chrissy was pregnant and it was not his. At first, Jim refused to believe, but curiosity is deadly when loyalty feels shaky, so he did what suspicious men always do. He went through Chrissy's phone while she was asleep, and what he uncovered shattered every ounce of trust. Hidden deep was a folder labeled Miami containing timestamp selfies of Chrissy and Cam in a luxury condo, a video of them on a yacht where someone can be heard saying they would make a beautiful baby, and even audio notes, one of Cam promising he had her back and another of Chrissy whispering she feared the child was his. Jim played the clip 8 times, his world collapsing with each replay until he smashed a wine glass against the wall and woke Chrissy up in rage. The fight that followed was nuclear, loud enough for neighbors to hear. Building security called to the condo at nearly 4 in the morning, and Chrissy storming out in sweats and slippers, climbing into an Uber SUV, her destination unknown at the time but later whispered to be Cam's apartment. Think about that, decades with Jim, a lifetime of sacrifices and public humiliation, and in the moment of truth she runs to Cam instead of her family or friends. That is betrayal at a level Harlan has no handbook for. Jim, refusing to be played, like a fool, went further and hired a private investigator to track every move. The PI report ran 47 pages long and documented Cam and Chrissy leaving a midtown hotel together, Cam delivering packages to Chrissy's cousin's apartment where she was allegedly hiding out, and receipts from a private clinic dated exactly a week after Miami. At this point, speculation was no longer speculation. It was evidence mounting higher than the Harlem skyline. And yet Cam did not deny anything, he just dropped cryptic Instagram captions like some villain philosopher, saying bonds break or evolve while flaunting that he was still standing. The internet responded like a riot, TikTok making timelines of deceit, Twitter calling it the end of Dipset. Fans split between calling Chrissy a mastermind or a traitor, and Jim's silence only amplified the noise as Harlem realized its golden couple and golden brotherhood were collapsing in slow motion. The city was buzzing like a live wire, and what had once been whispers in barbershops and Instagram comments was now plastered across gossip blogs with headlines so outrageous that people had to click just to make sure it was real, and the deeper you looked, the worse it got because anonymous sources started leaking bits of information that painted a picture far uglier than anyone expected. One insider claimed Cam had been secretly paying for Chrissy's luxury shopping sprees at Bergdorf, Goodman and Sachs, using a prepaid card registered under a shell company linked to one of his associates. Another alleged that Chrissy had been spotted in the back of Cam's Bentley on more than one occasion, ducking down when fans tried to snap pictures. And then there were the alleged voice notes released by a burner account that sounded eerily like Chrissy confessing to a friend that she was terrified the baby would look too much like Cam and Jim would immediately know. The public ate it up like it was a new season of a scandal series, Twitter threads breaking down the alleged timeline, Reddit detectives pulling flight logs showing Cam and Chrissy were on the same Miami flight even though they booked under different names, and TikTok edits going viral where fans set photos of Jim, Chrissy, and Cam to dramatic music, captioned with lines like "Trust is dead" and "Harlan deserves better." And just when the storm seemed at its peak, another bomb dropped because, according to leaked documents supposedly verified by anonymous insiders, there was a full DNA test result that outright listed Cam as the biological father with a probability so high it shut down any doubt, and whether the document was legit or fabricated barely mattered anymore because the internet had already decided it was real. Memes exploding with Cam photoshopped into family portraits with Chrissy and the child. Jokes about Dipset daycare and savage one-liners about Jim losing both his woman and his brother in one blow. Jim remained silent, but his silence spoke louder than words because fans noticed he unfollowed Chrissy on Instagram, deleted multiple photos of her, and even scrubbed old posts with Cam that had stood untouched for years, the digital equivalent of cutting ties with scissors that left nothing but jagged edges. Meanwhile, Mama Jones doubled down, going live on Instagram to rant about disloyal women and fake brothers, her words filled with venom and tears as she insisted she always knew Chrissy was not the one for her son, and though she never said Cam's Named directly, the implication was sharp as glass, and everyone watching understood exactly who she meant. The fallout spread beyond family drama and seeped into music because promoters allegedly began canceling Dipset bookings, claiming the scandal made them too toxic. Brands quietly distanced themselves from any partnerships, and fans speculated whether Jim would finally break his long-held loyalty and diss Cam publicly on a track. The streets of Harlem had become a circus, with paparazzi hounding every corner, fans live streaming outside Cam's building hoping for a glimpse, and even Chrissy's close friends turning cold as they refused to pick up her calls or comment on the mess, afraid that associating with her would drag them into the fire. And yet through all the chaos, Chrissy stayed eerily quiet. No statements, no posts, no appearances. Just silence that only fueled more speculation, some believing she was hiding in Miami again, others convinced she was in Cam's apartment avoiding the world. But what really kept the fire alive were the stories that Cam himself was allegedly bragging in private circles, not denying fatherhood but wearing it like a twisted badge of honor, allegedly telling friends that Jim had always played second to him, and now it was finally clear who the real king of Harlem was. Lines that dripped with arrogance and betrayal so thick that even his most loyal supporters began to question whether this had gone too far. Harlem had seen scandals before, but nothing of this scale, because this was not just love and betrayal. It was legacy being rewritten in front of everyone, reputations destroyed, families ripped apart, and the sense that the Harlem Brotherhood that built an era in hip-hop had crumbled into dust, with receipts and DNA tests as the final nail in the coffin. As the story snowballed into something bigger than music or reality television, the whispers of legal action began to circle because insiders close to Jim allegedly claimed he was meeting with lawyers not just for a possible breakup but for lawsuits that could shake the industry, talks of suing for emotional distress, for fraud, for damages to his brand, and even threatening to drag Cam into court for paternity fraud if the DNA test was ever proven fake. The air around Harlem was thick with tension, as if at any moment someone might snap and take matters into their own hands. Leaked screenshots of emails supposedly sent between VH1 producers suggested there were emergency meetings about how to spin this disaster into ratings, some arguing for a special reunion episode to air immediately, while others worried the scandal was too toxic to touch. But if history had taught us anything, it was that scandal sells, and reality TV was always hungry for chaos. Fans speculated that Mona Scott-Young herself was orchestrating behind the scenes, trying to lock down a contract that would turn all this betrayal into a multi-million-dollar storyline, the type of drama that could revive love and hip-hop with numbers the network had not seen in years. Meanwhile, Chrissy's absence became more damning by the day. Paparazzi photos emerged of her car parked outside a discreet Upper East Side clinic where tabloids claimed she had been meeting with lawyers of her own. Others swore they saw her being escorted into a Manhattan penthouse with curtains drawn tightly shut, the mystery of her silence making her both villain and victim in the public eye. And as the storm intensified, Harlem itself seemed divided, some locals siding with Jim, arguing that loyalty was sacred and Cam had committed the ultimate sin, while others whispered that Chrissy had always been unpredictable and maybe Cam was only guilty of getting caught. Social media made everything worse, with trending hashtags like Harlemgate, Dipset Up, and DNI's Forever, each one spawning memes, parody skits, and conspiracy threads so wild they read like movie scripts. Even rappers outside of the Harlem circle began dropping cryptic bars and freestyles, subtle references to pink coats, DNA tests, and brothers turned enemies, fueling speculation that the scandal was now a cultural event larger than the people directly involved. There were rumors of sponsors pulling out of potential Dipset anniversary shows, whispers that record labels were reconsidering contracts, and chatter that Jim had quietly filed paperwork to dissolve certain business ventures linked with Cam. A move that, if true, would symbolize the final break of their brotherhood. Through it all, Cam was strangely unbothered in public appearances, spotted courtside at Knicks games laughing with friends, flashing jewelry, and even posting cryptic captions on Instagram that many interpreted as taunts aimed at Jim, lines like, "Harlem always been mine and truth don't need captions," the arrogance dripping through every word. Jim, on the other hand, was seen less and less, his rare appearances marked by visible stress, the weight of betrayal showing in his eyes, fans describing him as broken and enraged all at once, a man caught between heartbreak and humiliation. Mama Jones continued her fiery rants, at one point even threatening to expose what she called decades of secrets if people kept questioning her son's manhood. Her words fueling new threads of gossip about what skeletons might still be hidden. Then came the wildest twist yet, because according to one alleged leaked police report, Jim had called authorities to his home after discovering he was being followed by unidentified men. Rumors spread instantly that Cam had hired private investigators to watch Jim, or perhaps it was media outlets trying to catch a fight on camera. Either way, the streets buzzed with speculation that the tension was about to erupt into real violence. Commentators compared it to the fall of empires, like watching Caesar get betrayed in Harlem instead of Rome, while others joked it was like a Netflix series writing itself in real time with more plot twists than anyone could invent. And still, no resolution came because no one involved gave a straight answer. No press conferences, no sit-down interviews, no closure. Just silence and cryptic posts while the internet tore itself apart trying to decide what was true and what was fabrication, leaving fans glued to their screens desperate for the next leak or screenshot or shady live session. This was not just entertainment anymore, it had become a saga of betrayal and loyalty ripped apart in front of the world. And whether the DNA results were real or not no longer mattered because reputations had already been destroyed, trust had been shattered, and the narrative had cemented itself in the minds of millions that Cam had crossed a line that could never be forgiven. So now the question hangs in the air, heavier than a storm cloud ready to burst. What happens next when Harlem's most infamous love triangle has been dragged into the spotlight with DNA tests, betrayal, and enough whispers to drown out the truth itself? Do we see lawsuits flying like confetti? Do we see public brawls erupting outside clubs? Or do we witness the ultimate plot twist where someone finally sits down and admits the whole mess is bigger than anyone thought? But let's be real, the public will not wait quietly because they are hungry for answers, and the scandal has already taken on a life of its own, and the only way the truth survives is if people keep watching, keep questioning, and keep demanding the receipts. So tell me, what do you believe? Is Cam really the father, or is this just another masterclass in internet illusion? Do you think Chrissy has been hiding because she is guilty, or because she is trapped in a circus she cannot escape? And do you think Jim will finally snap and break his silence in a way that shakes the industry? Drop your thoughts below, like this video, share it everywhere, and subscribe because the next twist is coming. Now that the dust has barely settled and Harlem is still buzzing from this epic betrayal, the real question hits harder than any beat drop. What comes next when the DNA test, the leaked DMEs, the private investigator reports, and Mama Jones' fiery declarations have already turned the streets, social media, and reality TV fans into detectives, jurors, and gossip kings all at once? Do we prepare for courtroom battles where the truth might finally spill under oath? Or are we watching a masterclass in manipulation unfold right before our eyes? Because let's be honest, nobody is innocent here. Everyone has a side, and every post, story, and deleted tweet has added another layer to the chaos. So where do you stand? Do you side with Jim, the heartbroken king of Harlem, trying to pick up the pieces of a dynasty shattered overnight? Or are you Team Cam, the mysterious, chaotic force who just may have rewritten the rules of loyalty? Or are you Team Chrissy, the woman whose silence and secrecy have become louder than any public statement? And do you think this baby, if it's real, will become the ultimate symbol of betrayal or redemption? The spark that either ignites more scandal or forces a reconciliation, because, trust me, the fallout is only getting started, so smash that like button if you want to stay on top of every leaked screenshot, audio note, and courtroom rumor. Hit subscribe because you cannot afford to blink when Harlem drama this explosive unfolds. And comment below with your verdict, your theory, and your predictions. Because in a story this wild, every opinion counts, and every second is another chapter in what could be the most talked about scandal of the decade. And remember, the next twist is already coming, so stay tuned and keep your notifications on because you do not want to miss a single moment of this chaos.